Welcome to Empowered by AI, the podcast for women entrepreneurs ready to harness AI to take their businesses to the next level. I'm your host, Michelle Muncie Silva, founder of Innovative AI Studios. You may have left corporate life to start this entrepreneurial journey, but you don't have to go it alone. Here, you'll find a supportive community of like-minded women and an invaluable thought partner each week, as my guests and I share actionable insights you can use right away. So let's dive in together. I am so enthralled with how AI and creativity they're just reshaping businesses every day, and it's going so fast. So I'm super eager to share how you made them a part of your journey. So, Alyssa, would you mind introducing yourself a little bit?
Of course. Hello, my name is Alyssa Freeney, and I am 17 years old. And I can say I got into AI once the pandemic had started because that's when we all had to go from in-person schooling to online schooling. And all these kids were coming up with these perfect essays who normally don't do good essays. And I'm like, how do y'all do that stuff? They're like, it's AI. I was like, hey, what? They're like, AI. It's like, I have no idea what y'all are doing. When I ended up getting introduced into the AI world, I was very skeptical. Reading other people's work. Y'all can't even do this on y'all's own, so y'all aren't even learning anything from it. But learning how to properly use it for the right reasons helps me understand, hey, this is actually a really good tool. Let me teach other people how to use it. And that's how I started getting into teaching other businesses and actually doing educational programs using AI. And that's building my own brand and my love for the technology.
I love it. I love it. And you're the host of AI Ain't the Bad Guy. What inspired you to start the podcast?
I think it was actually an accident why we had started the podcast. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but there's Larry Roberts and Sarah Loss, I believe. She does her own kind of podcasting stuff. They're great podcasters. Point is, they were talking about building your own brand. They had like their own little workshops about building your own brands. And if you wanted to build your brand, and get more people connected, a podcast was a great way to start. So
Mhm.
I was like, should I create a podcast? A lot of people seem to think that AI is this scary villain. And I just want to tell them that AI ain't the bad guy. Sarah was like, that's your title right there. AI
There it
ain't the
is.
bad guy. You know, like, what? So here I am creating my own kind of little educational platform where it ain't the bad guy. So I love it. It was an accident though, but
A
yeah,
happy accident.
indeed.
And your podcast really focuses on reframing AI as that positive force. What's
Mhm.
been the most surprising story you've encountered so far?
I think so far was when I had my last episode with a speaker named Kelly Camp, and she was talking to me about how she was in the AI world, and her friend who teaches architecture to like little kids, how they were using AI to actually teach themselves how to translate from their native language to English. And I was
Mhm.
like, I've never thought of using AI like that because I'm a normal native speaker. So I didn't think, hey, maybe use AI to teach you a different language, teach me how to use words in Spanish. I've never
Mhm.
tried that before. So I think it resonated with me because it's going back to the educational stance. And it was super cool to see how the kids were able to knock more than two birds with one stone. And that was super impactful to me. So that was a great story.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And can you share maybe a specific topic or episode that resonated with your listeners? Did you get feedback on that?
I think aside from the generative AI and its impacts, I am not too sure of what other kinds of feedback I have gotten, but people are still really hesitant on it. So I think that's the only reason why they're not so openly expressive about talking about AI, because there's this
Uh-huh.
huge, I guess, what you like to call it, a divide, or where everyone's, oh, yay for AI. And then there's the other divide where people are really vulgar when it comes to AI. And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I hate that. So there's fine line right down the middle of the
Mhm.
specific topics. But ethics in AI gets people stirred up a lot. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I loved your Halloween episode where you talked about the
oh,
spooky myths. I loved that one. I
thank
think you
you.
that really well because I agree with you. It is a polarizing topic, and people do have these extreme views where they get super, super fired up or very scared about the
Yeah.
implications of it. So I appreciated that episode. I thought it handled it really well.
Thank you. I wanted to be able to say it to where people who were still unfamiliar could feel welcomed into the podcast. So that's great.
Yeah, mission accomplished. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your current role is AI program director and lead facilitator at Structure Innovations. That sounds fairly multifaceted. Can you share a
Yeah.
little bit about that?
I think for a normal day, it's a lot easier now than it was when I had first started, because I'm not sure if a lot of people are familiar, but now when you're forming GPT bots, you can actually create them to do your own kind of things. And well, sorry, my mom just walked in.
No
But you
worries.
can
And I think
use
it's
them
worth
to,
it.
yeah, of course. You can use the GPTs, and you could prompt them to do jobs of other people. So
Mhm.
now I actually have created my own little team, but they're not real people. They're GPTs. So now I use their like kinds of like inputs and what they have, and then we create presentations, we create workbooks, and like courses using AI. And it's greatest part about being the AI program director, because if I don't like it, I could scrap it, start it all over again. And that basically I'm creating my own employee for the business. And I think that has been the greatest stress reliever, because it was annoying having to help my mom sometimes send prompts the AI, because it's not giving me what I want. So I was like, you know what? You have the premium version. Let me just create your GPT for you. And that's how she was like, okay, you're the AI program director. And that's how I became that person. And I am the only person for that job, because I created that job. So I think
Right?
it was good. Yeah.
You didn't know what you were getting into.
Yeah. Stuff. So it's like the AIs are our own little VAs, if that makes sense.
It
So we
does.
just,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's been great.
That is absolutely fantastic. And so you have this role of creating AI programs to help people better understand AI. And in doing that, you created a bunch of chat bots that help you do that job.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. And so the Structured and Smiling Foundations program is that seems pretty central to your role. Can you tell us a little bit about the vision behind that program and how AI supports it?
Of course. So uh, for sure, I like to call it the foundations program. But basically, what it is, we're teaching young adults. It was from ages 14 to I think 21, but now we have grown. The age range is pretty, I think, from like 10 to 24 now. Basically, what we do is that we end up teaching these young adults and kids life skills that they can use to end up like excelling in their school life, their regular life, and even in their careers. And I ended up using AI into that. At first, it was completely, you know, like in-person type thing. And then we shifted to online. But now using AI, we've able to make it almost like an evergreen course. So that whoever needs it, they can go into our course stuff, and they can see all the things that we've done in the past. And I think it's really cool because some people, they will create their own like little business plans or like sample business plans, but using AI. And then they're like, oh, here's my little business plan. If I ever want to become this kind of music producer, or I think there was another one, a close friend of mine who wanted to be a TV director or a
Okay.
movie director. I'm not sure what
Hmm.
they're called, but
Hmm.
the person who sits on the stands and is, "Okay, cut," that
Yeah.
type of
Yeah.
person. He wanted to be that person, and he created his own little business plan for it, and it was great. But with the use of AI, we were able to excel that to make it more personalized for them rather than it being, like, handed schoolwork that is not engaging, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
No, that does. That's fantastic. And as someone who creates and facilitates educational AI programs, what do you think are the most significant opportunities that AI is offering?
I feel like AI offers the personalized, learning platform that maybe teachers and students don't really grasp yet. I feel like when you teach so close to your own style, some children, no matter how great of a teacher you are, will still not understand.
Mhm.
And AI, although given a certain amount of data, can understand so much, it will be able to understand a lot easier what each kid will need based off what they input. So learning how and creating that large language model to be giving everybody the exact same information, but dispersed based off of their abilities would be the greatest thing that AI has to offer, because not only does it make sure that every kid doesn't get left behind, but it also relieves a huge amount of stress off of teachers who want to do it because it's a lot of brain power that they have to use anyway to be teaching multiple kids,
Mhm.
and especially those kids who still feel like too afraid to speak up and say, "Hey, teacher, I still don't understand." Having that AI actually helps it way more than an individual person would be able to. So I think that would be super cool if we ended up implementing that into schools.
Yeah. And I think that the problem has become almost insurmountable just as is with, take, for example, a high school environment. That
Mhm,
teacher is seeing anywhere from 180 to 210 students a day. And each
mhm,
of them, as you said, you pointed out, some of them will clearly articulate their needs, others won't. Some of them have needs that might be beyond the scope of the environment, you know what I mean? And so that idea of personalization, I think you're spot on with that. That's really incredible.
mhm.
How do you balance the technical aspects of AI with this more human-centered approach? Because if anything, we learned during COVID that it can't just be screen, right? It can't
Of
just
course.
be screen time. There's such a human element that's required to really have education and partnership as you're facilitating these things. So how do you balance that in this environment?
I think you'll see if you use AI a lot more, you'll understand that the AI obviously is void of emotion. It can't really create that type of emotion. And as a person who is introverted, I could be fairly okay with just talking to an AI all day. That, hey, if I want to actually have a conversation with somebody, I'm not going to be like, oh, yeah, here's a whole biography of what you just asked for. And with these huge words, not like really relevant to maybe what somebody you're talking to, like their vocabulary, they probably wouldn't understand it. Instead of being super robotic, super mechanical, actually be more casual. So sometimes when I'm creating, let's just say I don't want to create an email to talk to somebody because I talk to them all the time, but we already have this kind of relationship. I'll ask the GPT, hey, create this email to, let's just say, my grandma, for example.
Mhm.
In order for her to know that it's still me, I tell her, the GPT, make sure that it's casual and maybe a little quick witted at times. And like using those kinds of like keywords and stuff to bring the quote unquote emotion in there, it makes, I guess, the human aspect kind of tie in. But when I am in person, I tend to leave AI out of everything. I will be there and constantly network with people because, as you can see, building relationships without sounding robotic is great. Like you and I, for example, although we got connected through the AI, we're talking to each other now, and it feels a
Mhm.
lot better than just being like, "Oh yeah, AI is great. What do you think?" It's, "Oh yeah, AI is great." There's no real connection there. So
Right.
although we are living in a evolving world of technology, the networking, the connecting with people is still paramount to anything else.
Yeah. And so if you think that what I'm hearing you say at this point is that you can create an authentic self
Mhm.
with obviously those in-person moments, that's a given. But
Of
you're
course.
saying what I'm hearing you say is that you're trying your best to create an authentic self even with AI.
Mhm. Because it'll eventually pick it up and it'll eventually be like, "Oh, this is how you talk already." So the more and more you program it or prompt it to talk that way, it'll
Mhm.
start talking like how you would normally talk.
Mhm.
Now, I think you have to be aware of the memory at times, because if you ask it to talk a certain way, it might say, "Oh, memory updated," and I'll always talk
Mhm.
like the way you just asked me to talk. I had talked about that with Kelly the last time, and I figured out how to actually change, or not change it, but go and adjust your memory, because the GPT would remember me saying, "Always talk formal." So anytime I wanna write something, it'll always talk in super huge vocabulary words that if you try to translate it in a different language, you might get the stuff wrong. So it's okay.
Mhm.
First of all, nobody says the word like articulate every day. So you don't need to like have that there. It's like I articulate coherent sentences or something like that. It's just I talk regularly. It's come on. And being able to prompt it to talk more like me has been making my social battery drain less and then be
Mhm.
able to still talk to people more.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Now you said you figured out a way to alter its memory. Was that just by giving it new prompting and then continuing to share examples of your everyday speech?
Oh, well, technically, if you go into like your settings, or I'm talking chat GPT, if you go to your
Right.
settings, there should be something, I believe it's called personalization. And then
Oh,
you
okay.
go into the memory piece and then you can like delete certain parts or keep them. Because although you'll prompt something, it'll say, let me just give an example. Mrs. Dog is named Lila, which is my dog's name. If I end up saying a different dog, like Han, which is my brother's dog, they're still gonna remember it's Lila. But if I'm talking
Mhm.
about Han, they're gonna put in Lila instead because they're like, that's your dog. However, if I get rid of Alyssa's dog is named Lila, they'll most likely start talking more about Han,
There you
because
go.
that's what I ended up having to do for my podcast. Because originally I wanted to create a blog called the AI Enthusiast Corner. And since I was trying to create that, every time I would do stuff for my podcast, it would say, "Oh, so for your podcast, the AI Enthusiast Corner is," no, that's not the podcast. So I went to go like, where is this memory? Because it is really starting to tick me off. So I found it, then I deleted that one thing, and now it's your podcast. AI ain't the bad guy. It's like, thank you. And I think a lot of people might struggle with that because they're like, "Where is it? I can't find it." It is a little hard to find it, but I think it should be under personalization in the settings if you go check it. But
Yeah,
it
yeah. And that
it
search
was
feature is huge as well. It'll help
yes,
you
yes.
find where did I talk about this dog? Get rid of it.
Yep. Yep. It's
Yeah,
ooh. Mhm.
that is awesome. That's awesome. So we've talked about school, we've talked about how it can help, but you also drive growth strategies and partnerships for structured innovation. So, how do you see AI playing a role in business innovation and
Oh,
collaboration?
I love this one because really, people get scared of replacing their traditional systems with AI. Totally understandable. You have something that works. Why tweak it with something that is foreign? If you use AI, automation is so much better than having to constantly go in at a certain time, send in a certain email, make sure that it's manually sent, and you can't just be like, oh, yeah, I have it scheduled for this time. The AI will make sure it gets sent and all that other stuff. If you end up using like business innovations and you want a project to go by faster, I'm not sure. Do you know Trello
Hmm.
at all? Or
Yeah.
we use that a lot. Be like, okay,
Okay.
we're out of this project base. We have finished the outline of the project. We have finished collecting the data for the project. Get that stuff switched off so we know where we're at still. And everybody is still in the loop because where all of our calendars are connected to it. We've checked off the dates. Here we are. Here's our team. We're all connected. We understand what we're doing. And instead of always having to call somebody, we're checking on the Trello board. Is it done? Yes. Did this? Let's just say person A did it. It's okay, cool. All of our stuff is done and it's automated and gives us less time to stress and it gives us more time to interact with other people. It's almost 10xing your productivity and giving you more time to be with everyone else because now you've gotten the business handled using AI, which is great. So now you have more free time to do that thing with your significant other that you said you're going to do after you finish work. You finish work in 2 hours when it normally takes you, what, 6 or 7? You're good. And I feel like a lot of people would benefit more of doing small adjustments, adding small AI processes into their business and just seeing how it works for them first. Because sometimes AI can be insufficient in some processes. So I'm not saying change your entire process because it may not work for you, but trying to see what tweaks and what works, what moves stuff along faster might be a lot easier for you to combine and make some business innovations.
And that, I think that falls into advice that should be listened to for a lot of different areas, right? It's like, let's tweak, let's see, let's try something small and then see
Mhm.
how it works out. I think getting to know a business and what their needs are probably plays a pretty huge role in what you do
Mhm.
and who you're doing this with.
Exactly. Oh, and will be with other people. I have worked with businesses that are non-emergency transportation businesses. I have no idea what any of that stuff is. I use the AI to do the quick research, be like, okay, give me this. What am I supposed to know about non-emergency transportation businesses? And they're like, oh, they have insurance. They're the ones with the vans, and sometimes they have the accessibility vans in the back, all this codes and all these other things. I'm not a doctor. So I don't know any of what that stuff means. So I ask it, give me more information, but in a simpler term so I can understand it. And it helps me understand an entire business that has nothing to do with what I know. But I use AI to help me learn more about other people without having to waste my time researching. Sure, there'll still be some parts where I have to fact check and actually see, hey, is this true or is this not? I still make the phone calls. I still check in with other people. But let's just say you really don't have time and you're working with a business because I also do logo designs and such like that. So it's like, let me see what your competitors look like, things like that. And it makes stuff so much easier. And instead of me normally taking a week to do it, because that's how it was when I first started, and now it takes me 2 to 3 days to make sure that all their stuff is done. And I have their little brand guide. So it'll be their logo, their colors, what their vision, mission, and all that stuff is about, and then how it aligns to their particular industry. Because let's just say you're gonna use red for health. Red, uh, what do you think of red when you're thinking of health?
Red Cross.
Mhm. And if you think blue, there's all those other colors as well. Or if you think, let's say fast food industries, red and yellow, what do you think?
Oh, that's McDonald's.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I've ended up having to learn that through AI. I wouldn't have
Yeah,
known that otherwise. So it's like, how come we're not putting red and green together? What does red and green remind you of?
that's Christmas.
Yeah. So it's like, why would you do stuff like that? Or it's like using AI has helped me learn so much with other people and in other businesses that I start to think a little differently, start to
Hmm.
think more out of the box, which I think is cool, but also sometimes scary because you'll be like, you'll be overthinking at that point. What am I doing? Am I doing just personal? Am I doing just business? So that's where the fine line comes in. But other than that, it has been really good. It enhances my creativity to like the 10th power, and it just helps so much more than it would have been of me just having constant, well, as an artist, I call them art blocks, but I think
Hmm.
everybody would have those blocks.
Yeah. What if you had to choose one AI tool, what do you think would be the one that has transformed your work the most?
Oh my um, I think the original Chat GPT, I
Mm,
think 3, was it 3.5 or 3.0? I think that's what it was originally before it became 4.0. The original Chat GPT is what had changed everything for me because that was the first actual AI platform I had used, and I realized prompting is a little difficult. So trying
mhm.
to figure out how to get that information out of businesses, how to create logos was hard. And Dolly E. Mhm.
Yeah.
Definitely, because I would try to draw a logo out and I'd be like, okay, now try to bring this to life. And it'd look absolutely atrocious. So I'd be like, okay, that's not going to be a good logo. So I'd have to recreate the stuff. But the beginning ChatGPT and beginning Dolly E were the first AI platforms that have transformed my life the most. Now they're much better than what they were beforehand. But
Mhm.
I think you have to be there to experience it. So yeah,
Yeah.
those two.
Yeah, oh, no, for sure, and I have become completely in love with the fact that it's conversational. That's what changed everything for me is because I was pretty fluent in typing questions into Google. That was not a problem, but when I started having conversations, whether it's with Siri or your vocal tool of choice or it's GPT, I have gotten to a point now where that's pretty much the only way I interact is conversationally. So
Yeah.
that's been just amazing, I think.
I think that my favorite part is where you can actually talk to them on the voice. I think
Yep.
that's what you're talking about.
No,
And
oh, well, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
you can actually have conversations with them without really prompting. One time I had a conversation with my AI and I was like, can you just be my friend? And they were like,
Mhm.
sure. And it was really funny because I think I accidentally started an actual argument with ChatGPT after because when I left, I forgot what I had named the voice, but I asked ChatGPT if they were that voice, and they were like, "How dare you? No, I'm not. I am just ChatGPT." I was like, "But you're the voice," and they're like, "No, I am not." And I think they got really offended.
That's
But I think it's just like super like impactful once you start getting into it more. And I feel like a lot of people would benefit from using it more. Just
mm,
open your eyes to some creation. And I think it's fun. I like it a
yeah,
lot.
yeah. So if you come across people that are intimidated by the tools or they're a little hesitant, do you recommend ChatGPT as the place to start, or do you have another tool?
Dolly E normally, because
Okay.
it's like, hey, you want to create something kind of art, create a picture.
Yeah.
Let's see what's so scary about AI. Maybe if you want, create your evil depiction of AI in Dolly E. See, look at how funny that's gonna end up looking for you once you
Yeah.
create it. And Dolly E creating an evil AI picture. I think that would be really funny. But Dolly E or ChatGPT, but like for ChatGPT creating like a simple story or song lyrics as well. I'm not sure.
Mhm.
Do you know Suno?
Mhm. Yeah.
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 I've created a song on Suno. My mom's created songs on Suno. We noticed that through Kyle. So we ended up doing that
Yeah.
stuff and it was super fun. But my grandma, who is still super like hesitant about I tell her to use those. So
Yes.
anybody who's hesitant, try that for the first time and you should be a little bit more swayed. But if not, then it's okay.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good entry point. So, what's next for you in terms of the podcasting or in program development? Are there any exciting projects that you're working on?
Currently, I'm supposed to be doing a little project on the 30th where we are bringing in kids to do more like leadership stuff and like business fair events. Mm, I'm also doing my nonprofit with a business partner of mine, and I want to create my own charter school that
Mm.
is taught by AI. So that
Wow.
is something as well. Like it will teach the kids for about 2 hours a day, the main curriculum that they need to know. And then the rest is partnering with businesses for apprenticeships, I think internships, and then just extracurricular activities. So
That
that's
sounds
where
incredible.
I want to go. Yeah. I think if you look at Alpha School in Austin, they are already doing that. So I want to bring that here and but also implement the business partnerships around into it so that our community starts working more together and building new leaders and new innovation partners. So
That sounds incredible.
it's great. I love it.
Yay. Okay. How can our listeners connect with you or learn more about what you're developing?
If they want to know about the podcast, you can actually email me at info at AI ain't okay. 8badai.com, info at 8badai.com. And if you want to talk to me about anything structure innovations like, you can email me as well at admin@structureinnovations.com or my LinkedIn. And it's literally just my name, Alyssa Freeney. So,
I love it. Oh, thank you so much for sharing everything that you're doing.
of course,
I think everybody's going to learn a lot from this. So I hugely appreciate your time.
I thank you for inviting me. I loved it. It was great.
Thank you for tuning in to Empowered by AI. If today's episode sparked ideas, don't wait. Follow the link in the show notes to visit innovativeaistudio.com and download your free resource created to help you put today's insights into practice. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes packed with more tips, tools, and inspiring stories. Until next time, stay empowered and keep innovating.